Do you remember when the most complex attribute of a villain was which direction they twirled their mustache? Or what their evil laugh sounded like? Or maybe it was their style of mischievous schemes that they would execute on the hero. But it's safe to say that today, villains have become much more complicated and nuanced than the villains of the past. They are not simply obstacles for the hero to overcome, but are now actual individuals who have complex origin stories, reasons for why they do what they do, and dare I say, have a little bit of relatability and likability. And there are certainly many villains who come to my mind in today's day and age when it comes to these traits. But the two villains who stand out the most and exemplify why people love modern villains would have to be...
Why did you do this? I didn't... I was saving you. I only wanted to help. I only wanted to help. I only wanted to help.
I told you to stay away.
Please.
I told you to stay away!
No! Why did you leave me?
Because you're a Jinx! Do you hear me? Milo was right!
Violet, please!
In a lot of ways, I could kind of relate to Jinx's origin story as a child. You see, I grew up as the youngest in my family, and while I was a well-behaved but energetic kid, I found that I would make mistakes every once in a while as a result of my underlying anxiety, and this would cause people to lose trust in me even though I was truly doing my best. There were times when I felt like I couldn't do anything right, because the way I would get hounded on for even the simplest mess-ups made me really doubt my own confidence and competence in this world. And watching Arcane and seeing little Jinx, or Powder, throw the bag that her and her friends and Vi had sought after into the water was something so relatable to me. And of course, Jinx inadvertently causing the death of Vander, and the final nail in the coffin is Vi temporarily scolding and abandoning her after these events took place. This was significant because Vi was the only true contact point for Jinx in how she was patient and forgiving in Jinx's mistakes, and was always ready to stand up for her in the face of others who would try to make her feel worse for her actions. And what made this moment also very real was that Jinx was trying to do something to help the situation in trying to blow up Silco's base with the arcane crystals, not realizing the collateral damage and tragedy it would cause. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to do something to assist in a situation, and it winds up just causing more chaos and messing things up. This can lead to a deep sense of low self-esteem, since it may lead one down a path of thinking that they are just a Jinx and are destined to mess things up no matter how hard they try to help. And that's how Jinx's story more or less unfolds after the time skip. After feeling appreciation and understanding from Silco, something she had not gotten from Vi with their falling out, she embarks down a path of villainy as a new, more fitting purpose in her life. But this regret about the past and her mistake never goes away. She suffers from traumatic and schizophrenic episodes about the incident and tries so hard to either justify it as an accident or push it out of her memory. And what sticks in her mind the most is just how deep the wound of Vi's abandonment in that moment felt. And even when she meets up with Vi again, she is constantly battling herself and her mind in whether or not she can trust what anyone says anymore, especially when it comes to her potential. What was relatable about this whole turn was that we know that we all make mistakes that can wind up hurting ourselves and potentially hurting others. And it's one thing when someone makes mistakes and doesn't give a shit, but when someone truly feels bad about their mistakes and gets doubled down on by other people for them, it can result in that person having nowhere else to turn than to identifying with their supposed catastrophic destiny. And this is also perfectly represented by another blue-haired antagonist who shares a similar origin in Tomura Shigaraki from My Hero Academia. You see, Tomura's name was originally Tenko Shimura, a child who dreamed of being a hero in society, but had no superpower to fulfill this dream with. He was one of the outliers in society, with no quirk or power, and also suffered from a skin condition which further ostracized him from his peers. But other than that, he appreciated the fact that his grandma was a superhero and wanted to be just like her, along with his older sister, Hana. But the issue comes with Shigaraki's dad, who despises heroes due to the fact that his mother left when he was a child to pursue hero work. Tenko feels immense guilt whenever his dad punishes him physically and verbally for idolizing his mother. And the Jinx-esque moment finally arrives when Tenko's quirk in being able to decay anything he touches awakens. And in this moment of being scared and alone and receiving one last moment of abuse from his dad, Tenko finally comes to terms with his identity as a villain and feels enjoyment and fulfillment for the first time in his life after utilizing his quirk to kill his father intentionally. Similar to Silco, All For One preys on the vulnerable and broken Tenko and takes him under his tutelage after no one else would reach out to help him, promising to make him the ultimate villain so that he can wreak havoc on hero society just like they did to him. And what I love most about Shigaraki's arc and why everyone seems to like him is that he truly does have to put in the work from being at the bottom and rising to the top of villainhood. Him and his league of villains build a connection, and this deep-seated hatred fuels Shigaraki's will to take down much more heavily resourced and powerful villains, and even results in him awakening his quirk and making him a city-level threat at the end of My Villain Academia. A boy and a girl who just wanted to do good in the world and help were met with a series of unfortunate circumstances and abandonment, and resulted in making them villains. Now, I'm not advocating for what these villains did, and I do believe that there is a sense of personal responsibility and accountability that needs to be taken into consideration when talking about these kinds of nuanced characters. But I want to actually quote what one of my former rugby coaches told me one time when everyone started hounding on one of my teammates for missing a tackle. He said, "He is the first person who knows he made the mistake. There's no reason to get on him again and again about it." I loved this because it's true. We can all relate to making mistakes, and one of the worst things to hear is how we are useless or stupid for making said slip up. Instead, let's try to create heroes over villains by having a little more understanding and patience, and actually being productive when dealing with someone who has low self-esteem already. May we all walk the path of the villain at some point, so that we can better understand their worldview and how not to create them in the first place.